All right, guys, we're back working on Project Uncle G. Getting ready to cut down the Ford 8.8 rear axle that I have for this thing so I can fit these tires under it. These are a 33 by 21 and a half by 15 inch tire. Should be pretty cool underneath the rear of this thing. I've always wanted a street rod with the wide fat tires in the back, so this is going to be it. I'm going to be pulling out this GM rear end and putting in that Ford axle under it, so we can turn these tires a little easier. I'm not going to show you the whole setup of cutting down that rear axle. I'm just going to give you progress updates as I go. Probably when I get one side done, the second side done. I plan on probably making a template so I know exactly how to cut it out. So I'll show you how I do all that as I go. But there's so many videos of cutting down and narrowing a Ford rear axle or rear end that I'm not going to go back and show everything again. I will just show you the progress for my particular application, the 29 Model A. So I will keep you updated as we go, and hopefully you stay with me and follow along. Right here we got standing in front of us is a Ford 8.8 rear end. So far I have knocked off the spring perches, the sway bar mounting brackets, and the shock mounting brackets. Ground it all down smooth so I can have a good surface to work with on both sides. I am going to be cutting it down to get some wide tires underneath it. That's the whole point here. One thing I did find out is the center line of the pinion is about an inch off to the left. So I want that direct line with the tail of my transmission, tail shaft. So this side is actually going to be a little bit longer. The right side will be the left side will be a little longer than the right side. As of right now, I was having a real hard time getting good measurements off the rear end, so I took and made a template right on a full-size board. I got a full-size rear end here. What I got here is this edge right here is edge of this outside edge of this flange. If you look at this side of this flange is machined, so it's nice and flat and smooth. This side is not. This side is just rough metal. Same thing on that end also. And then also this edge right here is also machined, so it's a good point to measure from here. You know, anything from this edge or this edge is a true flat surface to measure from. So that's where I'm taking all my measurements. Basically what I got here is this indicates this lip or this edge. Same thing here. And then this outer edge here is this edge, this machined edge. So what I need for my particular build is this side of this housing. I'm going to have to cut out 11.5 inches. That's what I have between the two tape marks is 11.5. And then over on this side, I'll need to cut out 7.5. Total of 19 inches out of this rear axle to fit it under get it under the back of this and fit the tires that I need under there. So obviously at that point I'll be getting some custom made axle shafts and getting it together. But just thought you guys might want to see this. I know there's a lot of different ways to do this. You can buy the actual mounting fixture with the shaft that goes through with you'll get a puck that goes here where the bearing goes. Puck goes there with whatever size shaft hole it is, and then another puck goes here, and then the fourth puck will go at this end, and then the shaft slides through it. So when you have these ends cut off, with that shaft and all these pucks in there, when you cut this end off, obviously cut it off first, and then the shaft and pucks go in together. It's basically an alignment tool that aligns your bearings to your proper bearing of the carrier itself. So that shaft goes through there, you slide it all together, and then you can actually weld this tube back together from this mark to this mark, welding it together. So you're not just eating up bearings. I'm not going to do that. That last time I looked at that tool itself was like $700 and some for a 1 or 2 time use, that's pretty pricey. So what I am doing is taking a piece of just C-channel, 3-inch C-channel, cut this apart. Obviously, I'll cut my C-channel shorter. I got this piece here. You can kind of see this piece back here. I'm using it as a stand. You know, the bottom piece will go up here. C-clamp these things together really nice and tight. Tack weld. Obviously, these two are coming together. Tack weld all this together. Hopefully, this will be holding it. You know, it rides nice and smooth, true onto that tube. So it should, in theory, be able to clamp this nice and tight, weld it together, and have this tube be as straight as it is right now from forward. And obviously, both sides. When I get done cutting it, you know, clamp that down, clamp the bottom piece, C-clamp it together. Gives you enough room to, you know, give yourself a little tack weld to get it up. Might have to swap it around a few times, and then I'll get it welded back together. And that's how I plan on doing it. So like I said, it's not the absolute correct way. It is one way to do it. That's the way I chose to do it. I think I spent maybe $20 on the 2 pieces of C-channel. Way better than $700 worth of fixtures and a pipe to go, or not a pipe, but a rod to go through this thing to make it perfect. And I think we're gonna achieve about the same outcome when we're finished. But also, I can't remember if I said this in the video already or not. This pinion is not center of the housing. It's actually about a little under, I think, 1 inch off to the left. You know, obviously, this bolt here would be center, and this is actually center of my pinion, right down the center, going outside. And I wanted that in line with the tail shaft of the transmission. So I'm actually taking less off this side, off the left side of the housing, and I'm going to take more out of the right side. Just slightly more, just a little bit under of an inch more out of the right side to compensate for the offset of that pinion. So hopefully once I'm done, it'll be nice and center and true. So all I'll have to deal with is just my pinion offset or pinion angle when I go to set this thing up. I'm still looking right now into 4 links or 4-link brackets and everything. I'm not sure which way I want to go. If I'm going to go urethane bushing type 4-link, or if I want to go Heim joint 4-link, but I'm leaning more and more towards the 4-link Heim joint setup, just because I don't have a whole lot of room between my housing and where my axle is actually going to be. I mean, really think about, I'm going to have what, maybe 1.5 inches, give or take. Yeah, no, not even that. About 1 inch of usable tube, because it tapers down. You can kind of see where it's shiny and it tapers down here. So it's not a full flat tube here. And then this side's going to be about 4. So I'll only have about 5 inches of actual material over here that I can weld a bracket to. And I know if I use the urethane type, the wide urethane on my 4-link bar, that doesn't leave me a whole lot of room here for the brackets to, weld far enough apart to fit that urethane bushing in there. Obviously, this side will be a little bit, well, it'll be about the same, because I don't have anything left much over here to call tubing. So I'll have over here just over 4 also. So same thing here. I believe those Heim joints, I can narrow my 2 4-link brackets on my axle shaft a little closer together, even if I do use the misalignment shims in them to give myself a little movement of what I need. I think that's going to be the way I go. I know it's probably going to be a little rougher ride with the Heim joints versus the urethane bushings, but yeah, we're not really building this thing for a comfortable car. Making it, I don't know if I want to say making it super fast, but hopefully fast enough for what it is. So do think that's the way I'm going to go. Like I said, I got this thing pretty much all laid out. got to come up with a different way to mount my drive shaft, because I don't believe I'm going to go with that type of U-joint or that type of flange. I want a U-joint out back here, so I'm coming up with that. I think I already have something in mind for that, but I'm not sure yet. All right, we're back working on the rear axle. Got them both cut out. Got this side, got my 4-link brackets already on it. Got the couple spot welds just to hold it in place. Got the short stubby end welded back to the main tube. And I'm getting ready to do this side next. As you can see, I got a V cut into the metal so I can get a good penetration on the weld. Got me using the weld marks here inside the tube, as well as the weld marks here on the inside of the tube to line up my pieces. It's a good way to go. I actually forgot to do that when I first started. I did it on one side, but forgot to do the other side with a grinder mark, marking which direction or how it clocking this piece back onto the main tube. But I do need to make a correction. Basically, my math was off a little bit, so I did correct it, but I did show it in the video. So this side here, I took 11 and 19/32 out of. 11 inches, 19/32. And then this side, I took a 7 and 13/32 off to get the pinion center of the two flanges out at the end. That's where that's the new math coming in play. So that's where I'm at. I'll be welding this thing together later today, taking it real slow so I don't get any warpage out of it, or at least minimize the warpage. We'll maybe 1/4 inch or so one side, switch to the other side 1/4 inch, and then I'll actually switch ends and let it weld this end same way. Tack weld it first, 1/4 inch or so each time I weld, and then from there I'll just move back to this side after it is cooled, and until it's finished we'll be done. All right, this is what it looks like when I'm ready to tack weld it together. First of all, I got my 4-link brackets on. Can't forget those, because there's no way to slide them down the tube if you do. Second, I'm using this clamp to put force on this side of the tube here, inside, and then I just double up with this other clamp here, just further down into this area on the other side. And then it's a pretty tight fit to slide this piece in, but I slide it all the way in until it hits, until it makes contact with the other side of the tube. And then I come back and I crank this one down, so I know that I'm getting a relatively straight, for the most part, perfectly straight down this tube connected to that tube. Prior to putting it together, I took and marked these 2 lines where I know the tubes are meeting or clocking it properly. But if you look inside here, you can kind of see that weld where Ford welded the tube. I just make sure that's lined up with each other also before I tack weld this thing together. Once I tack it, I'll tack it in 4 places. I'll tack it top, bottom, reset my jig up, tack it on the side here, and then the side here, same thing on that side. And then I'll just lose the jig itself, and like I said earlier, weld about 1/4 inch each side, and then go to the other side, weld that side 1/4 inch, come back over here until I'm finished. One thing you want to do if you do this method is make sure your corners of your 3-inch channel here don't end up landing on this weld and throwing it off. So if you can see that I'm close. I didn't want to have to recut it, but you can kind of see the air gap between this housing and my 3-inch angle there. If that was to touch, you definitely want to take it back apart, grind it down, cut it short, or whatever you got to do to make it so it doesn't touch either that bead of weld original or that doesn't touch the flange itself, because that would throw it off. So I make sure I'm good on both sides. I don't have any anything touching top or bottom. So we should be centered up, ready to weld it up. And once I'm done welding, I'll pull you back in, show you what I did, and we'll keep moving forward. All right, guys, we're back on the Ford 8.8 rear end. Got it narrowed down. Everything's welded back together. As you can see, here's the piece of tube that I took out of the left side, piece of tube I took out of the right side. Like I said, got everything welded back together. 4-link brackets are on. They're just kind of swinging loose right now, both sides. Got the few extra parts in there. Got my other Heim joints and whatnot for this thing. And then here's the bracket, chassis brackets. It's gonna go on the chassis. Heim joints are kind of installed to where I want them to be. Got the misalignment shims in it. Get a little bit more movement out of it that we need. And all these brackets came from Tim McCamus Racing. Like I said, I was gonna start cutting down the chassis, the frame of Project Uncle G there, and decided to not do that right now. I'm gonna pull the donor car in and pull the engine and trans out of it, get it mounted into my frame first. That way I don't have to do any kind of measurements to get my brackets on right. I'll just set my pinion angle, get my 4-link bars on it, and we'll just tack them in place as we go, and then take it one more time out and weld it all back up solid like it should be to get this thing underway. So yeah, should be a fun little thing here. I'm doing all this stuff to get the big tires, the wide tires underneath it. Set of 33 by 21.5 by 15 tires are going to go into the back of this thing. So we got it just kind of sitting here waiting for its turn. But so that's where we're at. Thanks for following, and I think I'll wrap this video up at this point. Next one will probably be the donor car and what I'm doing with that one, and then we'll go from there. So hopefully you guys enjoy, and we'll talk to you soon.